When I was a little girl, my family and I would always travel to the local hockey arena to see an ice hockey game. We would always like to sit next to the glass that lined the rink or next to the penalty box where the players would go after they got into fights. I remember watching the players get into fights with each other. They would rip the gloves off, throw them at each other, throw the hockey sticks at them, and throw the pucks at them. That was so crazy for 10-year-old little me to see. Ice hockey is one of the most known sports in the Winter Olympics, and it has been around since the first Winter Olympics in 1924. Today we're going to discuss the history behind the Stanley Cup, the history behind ice hockey, as well as the role that ice hockey plays in the Winter Olympics. Ice hockey has been around since the 1800s. It was influenced heavily by an Irish game known as hurling. Players adopted elements from hurling as well as field hockey to form ice hockey. In 1917, the first professional league was formed, known as the National Hockey League. The first game was played against two teams of McGill University students at an indoor facility known as Montreal's Victoria Skating Rink. It was played in 1875. In 1926, the NHL had 6 teams. By 1967, the teams had doubled to 12, and in 2018, there are now 31 teams throughout the whole league. Now that we have covered the history of ice hockey, we're going to cover the background of the Stanley Cup. The Stanley Cup is a trophy that is awarded to the NHL playoff winner every single year. In 1893, Lord Stanley of Preston, who was the Governor General of Canada at the time, donated a cup to be given to the top Canadian team each year. The first winner of the Stanley Cup was the Montreal Amateur Association. Since 1926, the cup has been used exclusively by the NHL. The only trophy that is not reproduced every year in a national sports league is the Stanley Cup. It is 3 feet tall and it's made of pure silver. The original cup was retired in 1962, and there is one more cup that has been made and is still being used today. Now that we have discussed the background behind the Stanley Cup, we'll move on to the Winter Olympics and the results of the 2018 Games. Ice hockey is one of the longest running Winter Olympic Games. As we learned earlier, it's been around since every Winter Olympics since the first one in 1924 in France. The women's ice hockey was not accepted as an official Olympic sport until 1992. It did not make its first official debut in the Winter Games until 1998, 6 years later. In 2018, in the Winter Olympics in China, the Olympic athletes of Russia beat Germany in an overtime match, 4-3 for the gold, leaving Germany with the silver and Canada with the bronze. Today we have looked at the history of ice hockey, the history behind the Stanley Cup, as well as the Winter Olympics and its results. Ice hockey can be a very exciting game to watch in person, seeing all the passionate fans and rivals in the stands, and getting to watch the close-up action of the game. Whenever the crowd goes silent, waiting to see if the goalie is going to catch the puck that's flying at him at a high rate of speed, you can almost cut the tension with a knife. You can feel so much suspense in the arena. And whenever the buzzer finally goes off from the scored goal, the crowd goes wild. You can see the players and the coaches jumping around. It's such a great thing to experience, and I'm hoping that one day soon I can bring my family with me to an ice hockey game, just like I did, and make the memories like I did when I was younger with my family. The end. Thank you so much.